How does one keep a secret? How to silence the silent whisper that escapes with every breath, that pulls our hands a new way and guides our steps to new places? For once we've learned the secret, our lives are divided between the time before and the change after. How do we hide that we are no longer what we once were? For we can swallow the secret, but it will shine through our skin. For stars never go dark again until the day they die. Put on your disguise, pour yourself a cup of tea, and take a step between silver and glass to a world of homebrew magic where secrets are power and daytime reality need not apply. For those of you under the radar and in the know, I'm Amanda Lockridge, and you're listening to the Noctuary. Good things come in threes, but mischief comes in sixes. Oh, this is going to be fun. This episode will be the last of the Noctuary, but certainly not the last of me. Today we're going to talk about storytelling, and one trick in particular you can pull with a story. Today we're going to discuss the liar's game, and how a lie can be true. Stay tuned. What is the power of fiction? When we were in grade school, that power was our language. We learned so many of our words reading books, more so than any other source it seems. Even into adulthood, the people with the largest vocabularies are the ones that read lots and lots of fiction. In high school, we learned what fiction really was. It's a revelation of the human experience. True to history, or beyond the rules of reality, stories tell us things about others and ourselves, things that we don't learn elsewhere. Storytelling is empathy. Storytelling is exploration. It's something that asks what if and invites the reader to follow. And that's what the real power is, and I don't use that word lightly. Stories have power. They have the power to shape your world. Here's a relevant example. Imagine a world without Star Trek. No red shirt jokes, no beam me up Scotties, no live long and prospers, and no women in space. Science fiction has a long history of predicting invention, and I propose that this is because the stories serve to inspire inventors. They give an inventor a shape and a function to aim for, a what-if to chase, and leave the suggestion that even though the story is fiction, maybe, just maybe, this one idea might be possible. Mere exposure effect. Jules Verne is a good example of this. His stories are about hot air balloons, submarines, and fantastic means of communication, many of which came true. Star Trek did something similar. Cell phones did not exist in 1969. That would change before long. Women also had not gone to space in 1969. Perhaps this is not direct causation, but Star Trek placed the idea of a woman on the bridge of a spaceship into the psyche of a nation. The idea was normalized by the show, my theory goes, and before long, women, including women of color, joined the ranks of astronauts. But we have known since the dawn of time that stories and their language shape thought. Stories predate written word, and they've long existed as vehicles of learning. Go back to the ancient days, and lessons are taught in allegory and prose form. This makes knowledge easier to absorb, easier to remember. But they do even more than that. Stories allow us inside the heads of other people. It doesn't matter that these people aren't real. It creates experience that's real enough for us. Stories change not only our view of the world and what's possible, but also our view of ourselves. Ever heard of how people psychologically become their favorite characters? How many times has your view and your manner been molded by someone you wished you could be? How many of those people weren't real? Stories are ultimately lies, but they're a lie that serves as a vehicle for a deeper truth, one that would escape us without its blanket of fiction. They can change how we see ourselves, our world, even our past and future. Stories can change the course of history and alter how we remember it. So I say again, stories are powerful. Now remember to use that power responsibly. Let's make up a world and then pretend it's real. Create an alternate reality that blends seamlessly with the edges of our reality, and then play a little game. Real people become characters in this story, doing things to influence events in this fictional place. And to make it even more fun, this world, this game, denies that it is a game. It passes itself off as real. The story may not be real, but the people that end up playing the game and the fun they have, those are real enough. This is the basic idea of an ARG, an alternate reality game. This is a form of interactive storytelling in which the story is not in the power of the storyteller alone. The power rests evenly with the storyteller and listeners alike, to whatever degree the game maker decides. There's some kind of interaction between real world and alternate world, between fiction and reality. The game often begins like this. Much like the night circus, the game begins without warning. No announcements precede it. It's simply there, when the day before it was not. The game begins when people discover it, and the entry requirement is simply to realize that there is something more here than meets the eye. The game continues by power of people being unable to resist a secret, and more importantly, being unable to resist talking about a secret. In our community, if you hadn't noticed, we keep a tight grip on our secrets because boy howdy they spread like wildfire once loose. Especially if they're interesting. Especially if they have a good story. And that is the nature of an ARG. It's a story that you can step into and be a part of, something you can explore and take ownership of more than you can for a book or a film. Interactive stories already exist in those mediums. Choose-your-own-adventure books and films have been out for a long time. Video games are increasingly non-linear, where the player can change the course of the plot, but there are still limits. At the end of the day, that predetermined story is trapped in a cover, a screen, or in a neat little box. The line between story world and real world is clear and unbreakable. An ARG removes a few of those limits. A book or a film can be immersive as can be, but it cannot step into the real world. An ARG can. It uses real-life locations, real-time events, real people, real, tangible objects. You can touch the story of an ARG. You can talk to its characters sometimes. You can even be the hero of the story by finding the key to the puzzle or the treasure at the end of the trail. That's the appeal of it all. Now for the fun part. What's it all good for? Well, most ARGs are used to promote products. I Love Bees, a very famous ARG, was used to promote the game Halo 2. Year Zero promoted the band 9 Inch Nails. There was even an ARG to promote The Dark Knight, perhaps the most successful Batman film to date. An ARG is ideal for marketing. When released in the right circles, it generates some truly incredible buzz, to the point where viral is an appropriate word to use. Think back to the treasure hunt episode. Nobody can resist a treasure hunt. And there's also the idea that humans are natural storytellers, and nobody can resist a good story either. Put the two together, and you have the perfect lure for the masses. But an ARG is also good for generating attention, period. Drawing together large groups of people. This is where the power of the game and the story must be used responsibly. A crowd can solve a problem with frightening speed, but can also be directed in a bad way. Use with caution. Finally, as always, an ARG is good for fun. If alternate reality games are the food of mischief, then play on. I'll even give you the first step. And now, dear listeners, I have a lie to tell you. Once upon a time, there was a student in university who was dead sick of the trap of the ordinary. She was the sort of person who read too much, dreamed too much, and spent too much time by herself playing pretend. Then something happened. Something changed. She'd already explored all the different places she could. She went through the wardrobe and peeked into the winter world. She took a trip down the rabbit hole. That one was fun. She still goes back to that place to visit now and again, but even with all of her travels, she wanted a place she could call her own. So there came a point where she played a key in E-flat minor. 1, 5, 5, 3, 2, 3, 1. She played a key on the keys in a key, and a mirror opened to a brand new place. It was time to cease pretending, and it was time to stop playing in someone else's world. She took a deep breath and stepped right through. I told you once before, and now I ask you again, where am I? When the mask comes off and the teacup is empty, make sure to spare a glance back at the looking glass. In a show concerning secrets, there are secrets to be found. Find my breadcrumbs, follow my trail. I've hidden something for you in this Noctuary of mine that just waits to be discovered. Good luck.
How fares the muse? Ah, but the muse. How curiously masochistic we are, for what of the artist, slaving after our creative longing? Long live the muse indeed, and thus short lives the artist. For the art lives on, even as the world exhausts itself of its passions or turns away in disgust. After time crumbles the details, and the whole meaning of a language turns on its head. Short lives the artist, but a drop of ink in a sea of night, daring to try to shine, less like a star, more like a coin at the bottom of a well, the flash of a desperate wish cheaply bought with copper and water, a wasted penny and a broken promise from cold springs that can never answer. The muse? How fares the muse? The muse is dead. Long live a tormented soul.